It's not every day that you find your franchise wide receiver in the 3rd round, but the Seattle Seahawks did just that at the 2015 NFL Draft when they selected Tyler Lockett. The 3-time All-Pro just inked a 4-year, $69.2 million extension. Lockett is a stud and is a foundational part of the Seahawks offense. He's had an impressive 3-year stretch, playing in 16 games each season and racking in 3,074 yards and 28 touchdowns over the span. Before that, the 28-year-old established himself in the league as an elite special teamer, being named an All-Pro each year and making a Pro Bowl. Coming out of Kansas State, Lockett had one huge knock against him: size. At 5'10", 182 pounds, the worry was that Lockett could easily get jammed by corners at the line of scrimmage. Luckily, that was, for the most part, overshadowed by him having the ability to beat defenders with his speed, making him an intriguing prospect. The 2015 NFL Draft had a very hyped up receiver class, starting with Amari Cooper, who the Oakland Raiders selected 4th. The former Alabama star is coming off of 3 straight 1,000+ yard seasons with the Dallas Cowboys. Ahead of 2020, Cooper inked a 5-year, $100 million extension after recording a career-high 1,189 yards in his first full year in Dallas. After 2 straight 1,000+ yard seasons to start his tenure in Oakland, the 4-time Pro Bowler was traded to Dallas in exchange for a first-round pick after a down year. Cooper is the only wide receiver selected before Lockett that I think is better, and I don't think it's even close. They have both played in basically the same amount of games, yet Cooper has over 1,300 more receiving yards. Lockett has had more experience in the postseason though, but personally I believe that's a blessing of his circumstance more than anything. So I don't believe that alone would push him over Cooper. The Raiders totally made the right pick here and should be proud of it. Cooper has had an illustrious career, but the guy that went 3 picks after him, not so much. Kevin White. The former Chicago Bear draft pick is currently with the San Francisco 49ers, where he's been on and off of their active roster. Prior to San Francisco, White signed a deal with the Arizona Cardinals, but didn't make it out of training camp. His career can be summed up by poor play when on the field and a lot of injuries. White didn't play at all as a rookie after suffering a stress fracture. Then, his next 2 seasons were ended by a fractured fibula and a fractured shoulder blade. Real quick, if you guys are enjoying the content, help us reach 100K by subscribing to the channel and turning on bell notifications so you never miss an upload. Kevin White wasn't lucky enough to turn around his career, but the guy taken 14th by the Miami Dolphins, Devonta Parker, was. Parker is 1 season removed from recording 1,202 yards, going for over 1,000 yards for the first time. The turn of his career comes down to 2 people, Ryan Fitzpatrick and Adam Gase. Parker was plagued by the incompetence of Gase that ruined Ryan Tannehill as well. But once Brian Flores came in and Fitzpatrick made his way to Miami, Parker has been a different player. Parker went for over 500 yards twice before his breakout 2019 season. Devonta Parker turned his career around and now seems somewhat comparable to Lockett. Miami for sure didn't make a mistake with this one, but while Lockett's had the privilege of playing with a top 5 quarterback throughout his career, Parker hasn't. He's been in an uphill battle, and that alone makes his achievements a little more impressive to me. But on paper, Lockett still leads Parker in every category, even after his breakout season. Speaking of breakout seasons,
we're breaking free!
Nelson Aguilor had his in 2020, recording nearly 900 yards in his lone season as a part of the Las Vegas Raiders. It was good enough to land him a surprising 2-year, $26 million contract with the New England Patriots. Aguilor has turned himself into a solid wide receiver, but his time with the Philadelphia Eagles, who selected him at the draft, was an experience. He never had over 800 yards and only went for over 400 yards twice, but he did play a role en route to getting a Super Bowl ring. The narrative around Aguilor at the beginning of his career was not a great one, but since he's turned it around and become a solid option. This next season with the Patriots should show us a lot about this guy. He's nowhere near Lockett, but he's definitely been building a solid career. Late in the first round, at number 26, the Baltimore Ravens took a shot on Brashad Perriman. The former UCF star is coming off of his two best seasons in the league, recording over 500 yards with both the New York Jets and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Prior, he had stints with the Cleveland Browns and in Washington. Perriman had a tough time in Baltimore. He was injured as a rookie and went on to only last 3 seasons before being released. However, Perriman has been able to turn it around and recently signed with the Detroit Lions, his 6th team in 5 years. It's no secret that Perriman doesn't compare to Lockett. The Ravens are probably kicking themselves for drafting this guy over Lockett or even some other notable names that came later in the draft. The 6th and final receiver taken in the first round was Philip Dorset, who the Indianapolis Colts took at number 29. Dorset was injured all of last season, though he was technically on the Seattle Seahawks. The 3 years before, he played in the spotlight for the New England Patriots. The Patriots used Dorset well on their way to another Super Bowl victory. He was included in the trade that landed the Colts Jacoby Brissett. The deal came after a disappointing first 2 seasons in the league, although his 2016 season, when he had 528 yards, was actually his career high. Dorset will continue to try to make a home in the NFL, signing with the Jacksonville Jaguars this offseason. It seems like there's a narrative that Philip Dorset was good while in New England, but I don't know how true that is. He was only there for 3 years and only had 300 yards once and never exceeded 400 receiving yards. If his other landing spots show us anything, it's that his stats were clearly elevated by the team and quarterback that he was playing with at the time. He has the ability to draw attention away from the star receivers, but other than that, I wouldn't place him anywhere near the top of this draft class. It took another 8 picks after Dorset for a wide receiver to go in the 2nd round when the New York Jets selected Devin Smith. The Ohio State product last played in 2019 for the Dallas Cowboys, where he appeared in their first 4 games. Prior to Dallas, Smith spent 3 years in New York, recording just 135 yards. He spent some time in 2020 on the Houston Texans practice squad and is currently on the New England Patriots. Devin Smith was never really good enough to compete for a starting position on a roster. He hasn't played much and so far seems like a waste of a pick. Not really much else to be said about this one. Once the number 1 recruit coming out of high school, Dorial Beckham had one of the most disappointing careers of any top recruit. Despite that, the Tennessee Titans took him at number 40. He went on to record 549 yards. After that season, the Titans traded him to the Philadelphia Eagles, where he lasted 1 year before getting waived. He hasn't played in the league since. Beckham had so much promise, but he disappointed and dealt with legal troubles. The world will never know the potential that he held, but the Tennessee Titans are doing a damn good job at forgetting this pick with the recent success they've had lately. With the very next selection, the Carolina Panthers ended up grabbing Devin Funchess. Last offseason, Funchess signed with the Green Bay Packers, but ultimately decided to opt out of the season due to COVID-19. He will play his first football game for Green Bay this year, suiting up in the Midwest where he once played during his time at Michigan. Funchess played for the Indianapolis Colts in 2019, but it went south when he suffered a broken collarbone. He established himself as a solid wide receiver option during his tenure in Carolina, recording 1,389 yards over his final 2 years. Funchess was fine, but not special. He can add depth to a team, but don't expect him to go lighting up the stat sheet. Overall, in the round, he was fine, but the rest of day 2 sucked. It was a very long 28 picks until the next wide receiver came off the board when the Seattle Seahawks took Tyler Lockett in the 3rd round with the 69th
Nice.
pick. Notable wide receivers that went after Lockett include Jameson Crowder and Stefan Diggs. Lockett overall is the third best receiver in this class behind Cooper and Stefan Diggs. He is a great player and absolutely deserved that contract. I expect Lockett to continue to get better, and I, for one, am excited to see what he's going to do in the future. Thanks for sticking to the end. Again, help us reach 100K by subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell notification so you never miss an upload. When we reach the milestone, we will be giving away an NFL jersey. To enter, all you need to do is make sure you're subscribed and have notifications on. Then follow us both on Instagram and post a screenshot of you subscribed on your story and tag us both for a chance to be entered for an NFL jersey of your choice.